everybody. I'm about to go live with Eva. We are both part of the Vegan Health Bundle. If you haven't checked it out or you haven't heard of it yet, there is courses, recipes, over 2,000 recipes, all vegan health. There's doctors involved, there's yoga, there's fascia flow, there's so much there. All to support you on your health journey. It's worth over $8,000 and you can get it at the moment for only $49. So check the link in my bio or Eva's. Now I will grab her. And health and all the amazing things that eating vegan and being healthy bring to your life. So, hey!
Hey, it's so great to hear from you.
You
How are you?
too! How are you?
Good, good. Like here, it's a little bit early in the morning, but it's really nice. Like it's a good start to the day.
Oh, well, good morning.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm good.
You look great. You look super
Oh,
vibrant.
thank you so much. Thank you. It's like, you know, like I know I've only been well a couple of years, but each time at this time of the year is probably when I look the most vibrant because it's like the end of our summer. So it's like each year I always know that this is that time where you feel like really, really good and, had fruits and, all good food and had the sun and you just feel amazing. So, and you
Yeah,
would be going into spring soon, right? Or now you're going
exactly.
into spring, but I mean, the weather will change into warmer.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so funny because it's like in Australia, from the perspective of Europe, it's the other way around. When you have summer, we have winter. But I'm actually right now on the Canary Islands, so they belong to Spain, but they're close to Africa. And I'm from Germany originally, but I don't like cold weather,
Yeah.
so I'm kind of in a process to moving here, and that's why it's kind of been all
Yeah.
over the place to figure out how to move here and all of that change. But yeah, but I like it. I lived here in the past for like 1.5 years already, and I really like it. It's Spanish culture, Latino culture, a little bit island vibe. So yes, it's nice.
Oh, yeah, I think there's something about, I think when I got well with the foods, I discovered very quickly that you just amplify the effects of raw foods if there's sunlight, like, the warmth of the
Yeah,
sun and the
yeah,
access to being in
yeah,
nature.
yeah,
And I'm not saying that you
yeah,
can't do it where it's cold, but I always like to just give tips for people who are in deep healing. Like if you want to take it to the extra level is, and it's, it's not forever, but you can up your healing by getting sunlight. It actually just made me think, one of my friends who I post a lot with, her name's Heidi, she's not going to mind me telling you, she went to Bali last year, and I swear, and she eats raw, high raw, and I swear from when she went over there to when she came back, some sort of massive shift happens. Like, just, it didn't have to go long. I think she only went 10 days, but you can, really feel amazing by,
yeah.
you know
Yeah,
going
no, I
going
love it. I love warm weather. I always, because I grew up in Germany, which is quite a cold climate. So you
yeah.
have 8 months minimum of winter, basically. And I was always, oh, I want to move somewhere where there's more sunshine. And now I'm doing it. But yeah, it's super important for me. Sunshine, good weather. It just makes such a huge difference. And it also makes, I feel like eating raw more easy because if it's a hot, dry climate, or like here is a subtropical climate, I
Sure.
just crave raw food. So it just makes it more easy too. So yeah.
Yeah. I know, and even like, so I haven't traveled much yet, but I went to Bali and I
Mm,
noticed, so here in Sydney, it's subtropical. So I do crave like a lot of
mm.
salads often and fruits and a variety of foods. But once you
Yeah,
go tropical, like tropical, you don't think of salad. I think I tried to have
no,
salad once in Bali and the salad was just so terrible. It was just not worth it. But at the same time, you don't think about it. You really just want to keep hydrating and be in the sun. It's very different. Like,
exactly.
I don't think I ever realized until going raw how being somewhere, like, it's just a different experience. Like I remember traveling when I was younger, and I've traveled to Queensland, which isn't that far, but it's still warm. And you kind of stick, when I stick to what I usually do. Like I'm the same sort of person, but I find now when I travel in raw, I become part of the culture, or I really like want to find out what they have locally, what do people have locally, and it's a
Yeah,
different experience.
for sure. Sure, for sure. But so nice. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, in the tropics, like here, the Canary Islands, they're subtropical. But yeah, the tropics is just another level. Also, the food
Yeah.
that you can get is another level. But I'm already happy. So subtropical climate for me is already huge step.
Yeah.
It's
I
already really
I
nice.
think also
Yeah.
I think because the way humans are is we need a lot of things, and I think subtropical is perfect for that. Like I do know that in
Yeah.
Bali, I did deeply miss the salads and the culinary, like
Yeah.
tomatoes, cucumbers, and it just you can't get the quality. There's just you'd have to eat like a ton to get any kind of like minerals or nutrients out of them in
Yeah.
Bali. Hey, they just tasted like crunchy, soggy water, really. There was no like, you're biting like, oh, so
I agree. I agree. But where you're living, it's also a
yeah,
subtropical climate, right? Oh,
yes.
that's so nice. Like I've never been to Australia, but so many people who have been to Australia said it's an amazing, amazing country. So who knows?
You have
One day
to come
I
visit
might
me. You
visit.
have to come out here. You'd love it.
Yeah, I know. I know that until you're 28, you can get a special work visa and
Yeah,
it's super easy to go. But yeah, so I have a couple more years to go.
who knows? You might
Yeah.
become Australian. You might come out here and not leave.
No. Yeah, I've heard it's such a cool country. Such and people are so lovely and so nice and so
Oh,
optimistic. So yeah, huge different culture. Really
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
But
So let's get started by talking about our healing journey. So do you want to get started by sharing some of your healing journey?
yeah, for sure. So for me, I started eating mostly raw vegan, or I was always like 90% raw already for like a couple of years, 6 years, 7 years, something like that. So I started when I was still in my teens. Also, I went vegan when I was 14, so super young. So many of the issues that I probably would have later in life, I didn't still have it. But what I had was, for example, I really had bad skin. So that
Mm,
was something that improved so much. So if you're struggling with skin, for sure, the secret is diet and obviously like a little bit of sunlight, all of that. But diet plays a huge role in that. And the other thing was that I really suffered a lot with my period. So I had horrible, horrible period. It was like around 7, 8 to it was around like 10 days of me just experiencing a lot of pain.
mm,
And I mean, it's 1/3 of your life if you suffer 10 days with a lot of pain and issues. So it was, and I lost a lot of blood as well. So I had a lot of issues with that. And once I changed my diet, it became so much better. So it's not perfect. I still have some pain, but it's like 2 days. So it's a huge, huge, huge improvement. And yeah, so for that, I'm super, super grateful. And of course, all the other benefits like having more energy
mm.
and also eating healthy, it changes you as a person as well. So yeah, you
Yes.
just become more open to a lot of healing in other areas as well, like emotional health. So yeah, super grateful. But for me, for sure, the two biggest things that I feel was this period, this horrible, horrible period. It got so much better. And I never like I didn't because if you go to a doctor, the doctors say, just take the pill, basically, which is not good at all. So I didn't have to take it. I just changed it with eating a different lifestyle, like eating a different diet and changing my lifestyle. So yeah, super, super powerful, this diet,
It
I
sure
can
is.
say.
What can I ask? Why do you think how long have you been raw vegan now?
I started with 17, now I'm 24. 7 years.
That's
7 years.
amazing. That's
That's
really
a long time.
amazing. I've
Or 6.5, 7 years.
so my biggest question for you is like my healing story is like quite big, right? And
Yeah.
some people's aren't big, and it's sad that people have to get that sick to shift. How and why do you think you were able to shift and stay? Like even people who have health problems like me, sometimes I have days where I'm like I really can't. Like there's no way I can go back. But a lot of people
Yeah.
just go back. What was it about the diet or you that you're like, I know this is going to stay? Like because there's so many temptations out there, and there's like there is other ways that say they're healthy. And yeah, I'm really interested in this.
That's such a great question because it's true. I feel like if you have such a huge reason, like a huge health issue, okay, if I go
Yeah.
back, then like I
Yeah.
have this huge health issue. For me, it was, I think, because I turned vegetarian when I was 12 and vegan when I was 14, so it was a slow transition into it. And I already had that vegan connection, like I don't want to kill animals, and that was that for me, that's for life. Like I will
Mm.
never eat an animal again because I just have that strong connection. And once I went raw vegan, it became my passion. So it
Yeah.
was also because I'm from a family who eats super unhealthy. So for me, it was also a way to break a little bit out of my family and to find something that is mine, that my family doesn't do, but that I do, that I think is important.
Mm.
So it was, yeah, it just became my a huge passion for me. I think maybe that's why I stick with it because I love it. I love to prepare healthy food. I love to eat healthy food, and yeah, it's just I like it.
It's very inspiring. Like it's very. I feel like a lot of what we all do as raw vegans is we know how good it feels, and we want to talk people in. You're not even. We want people to make the shift, and when somebody like yourself has done that and stayed on it and fallen in love with it without the real like a massive, terrible, horrific kind of scare thing, I find that really
Yeah.
inspiring. Like I
Oh.
like that's it's really incredible. Like because I hear you hear most people you talk to, you hear, they're like forced into it, but you've just evolved into it, and I love that so much. So, what sort of things are you eating?
So for me, I'm high raw vegan for the past years. So not 100%, but always like 90%. That's my thing. So for me, in the morning, I always eat juicy fruit just to wake up.
Yeah,
So I mean, right now I haven't eaten yet, but the first meal of my day is either oranges or melons or something that is in season. Also, maybe sometimes a juice, depending on, but something
yeah,
hydrating. And then the second meal of the day is something more filling. So that is for me sweet fruit, usually banana because it's just always available,
yes,
and also relatively cheap as well. So and affordable. So bananas and just a meal out of bananas and maybe dates, so or a smoothie or like a fruit salad, but with more filling, so a lot more calories to sustain myself.
mm,
And then the third meal of the day is usually a snack, which is maybe something more savory, such as tomato, cucumber, something like that.
mhm,
And then for dinner, I usually split it because I eat a lot. So I have another like a fruit meal, so whatever fruit I can get basically. Um, who knows what is in season? For example, strawberries or bananas again, depending apples, whatever is in season. And then I have a bigger salad. So that is the optimal day. But over the years, if you really do it as a lifestyle, sometimes it changes, like you have a different work schedule, etc., etc. But that is my perfect day. And sometimes I have salad maybe for lunch, but yeah, but my perfect day is to have salad in the evening. That's the perfect digestion. And then sometimes like things that I eat that are not raw is for example steamed veggies. So that's something that I eat, but for example rice or like grains, I don't digest well anymore. It feels like my body has already adapted to raw
yep,
food. So yeah, but for me like steamed veggies, that's okay. Things like that. Yeah.
yeah. You know what I want? I want a question for you about how you went from vegetarian to veganism into raw veganism, because I have found while I was when I came out of being really sick, I was paleo, went vegan, and then I went raw, and I've gone into like lighter raw. And I think that's what my body needs. Did you find that the lifestyle kind of pulled you through, as in like you couldn't sit and still eat the grains and the rice as a vegan, like that you were kind of pulled through
Yeah, no,
um, to
for
eat the
me
fruits because
it was.
you felt better?
Yeah, so actually for me, I went raw vegan when I was reading the 80-10-10 diet by Doug Graham. So that was my introduction. So I never did like high fat that or with a lot of nuts and seeds because I know that a lot of people they start with eating a lot of fat, for example, and then they go to eating more fruit.
Yeah.
But for me, it was straight vegan and then 80-10-10. And actually, because it was like I never experienced detox symptoms when I went vegetarian or vegan, because I was still eating a lot of rice and beans. But when I went 80-10-10, basically, and I did 2 years of being super, super strict, 100% raw, so also no steamed veggies or something. And I had a lot of detox symptoms. So it was really, really extreme basically. But I started with 80-10-10, and that's still what I do. So I always stick with eating a lot of fruit. For me, that works the best. Eating a lot of fruit and still avocado and things like that, but not like my the basis of my diet is always like bananas or
Yeah.
like sweet fruit. And for me, that works so well. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So when you were strictly raw for those 2 years, what was your period pain like at that time? Was it still about 2 days, or was it a lot lighter? Or
No. Oh, like I also never lost my period, so I always had my period all the time, basically every month. It always like since I went vegan, basically it's always 2 to 3 days, but still some pain. So the pain never left.
okay,
Um, yeah, but it got a lot better. So and it's not like I'm dying because before that I was dying. I
yeah,
was like 10 days fainting and super, super hard.
yeah,
And now it's okay, I can survive.
good.
But yeah.
No,
Yeah, I feel also maybe I think it because each person has a certain set of genetics as well, and I think that my period pain, I think it comes from my mom and from my grandma too, because they also had huge problems with it. So I think there's a certain genetic part, and I think that the raw food diet they can heal so much, but I'm not sure if it can heal everything. You maybe just have a certain set of genetic, but I'm not sure about that. But yeah.
yeah. It's an interesting topic because even doctors are talking now about how just about all of our genetics are actually epigenetics. There's only like I think it's like
Small
85%,
amount.
and then the 15,
Mm.
and that's like sturdy things that are genetically stuck, as in like our eye color, our hair color,
Yeah,
most of what we experience. But that doesn't take away from the fact that you would have a gene turned on, epigenetics being that's turned on by lifestyle or food. It can be turned on when you're in vitro, like when you're in your mum's womb, or when you're young and you're exposed to something and you've already got those weakened genes. So, but it's great to know
yeah,
that because it is lifestyle, is if you get away from say like fields which can play around with your genetic, like I mean, Wi-Fi and things like that, or you have foods that we can start switching genes off and on, and
yeah,
it's amazing to think about. The other thing, I don't know whether you've ever heard or read this before, but there's some doctors, and it gets hard because doctors can't do many studies with a whole bunch of raw vegan women, like as in how doctors do research, but they have seen a trend that when women go raw, and of course genetics play a part as well, that their period will get so light and so painless. It's very similar to animals in the wild, and I
yeah.
find this really
Me
fascinating because you
too.
you may still have such like like a bit heavier and stuff because that flow actually removes toxins. And I know that when I had my hysterectomy, although people think I was very sick up to then, my body just basically stopped working properly after,
Yeah,
like my pain went from that area. And it's like a filter, right? Is you are filtering out. So you, for some reason, there could be an organ or something which isn't in you functioning at its highest capacity, and you've got an
yeah,
extra load of filtering or something like that. I just found, I think because I spent a whole lot of time with um, gynecologists and doctors trying to figure out my problem, and then you see that, and I didn't even think when I went through all mine, I didn't even think about how in nature, and it's only when you domesticate dogs and cats inside and we feed them cooked food that they also can get heavier periods, right? And also
exactly.
diseases. Yeah. So have you ever thought
Yeah,
about any of that? Sounds like yes, you can see you're like, yep, yep.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I thought about it too, and I'm really curious because right now I live in a city as well, so there's a lot of pollution. So I'm really curious how it will be if I one day, which is my goal, my dream, move more in the countryside and maybe am less in like I less have to deal with pollution and things like that, because also notice I detox a lot more. So for example, for me, if I sit next to someone and this person is smoking, I feel it a lot more. Like I get headache and it just affects me a lot more than if, for example, someone who is quote unquote normal or is not vegan or things like that, and I sit next to a person who is smoking and I feel completely fine. So I feel like for sure if you're raw vegan, that your body's maybe more efficient in pulling out the detox, the toxins, on an ongoing basis. So yeah, who knows? Maybe it will change if I live somewhere where there's less environment toxins.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really curious
The other
about that.
one is, and I use a grounding mat now, and it totally changed my life on my bed at night because we are supposed to, that's why animals also, we're supposed to sync to the moon, right? There's the cycle of the planet.
Yeah,
We're supposed to be grounded with electromagnetic fields which match the earth, and ours are all chaotic because they're not. So raw foods, as you know, literally changed my life. But I got a grounding mat, and especially for like anxiety, or like there's a feeling of being ungrounded, which is hard to put into words, where it's like your brain is kind of like, oh, it's just always a little bit off, and the grounding mat really helps with that. But it's be interesting. I wonder, for like, if you're raw vegan and you lived, off grid, and you just were like really in sync with the planet, I wonder what it would be like, because
me too. Me too. Yeah, that's my goal. Like right now, because I grew up in the countryside, which I loved, but it's in Germany, so I don't want to move back there. And right now I'm in the Canary Islands, but in a city because yeah, I'm just getting started. I don't have a car yet, so it's just more easy to get like food and everything. But my goal, like the Canary Islands, they're so beautiful, and one day I would love to have like a house or a small place, more in nature, and just live a little bit more with nature, like get up when the sun is rising, maybe go inside when the sun sets down. I think especially if you eat raw food, because I feel like if you eat raw food and if you're vegan, you're already drawn so much more to nature, and it changes you as a person. I feel like humans in general in our society, at least the German society specifically, super disconnected from nature. Like we spend most of our days inside and we don't spend much time in nature, so super disconnected. And I feel like once you eat a lot of raw food, it does affect you and you just become a lot more in sync with nature. So I feel like a lot of people who eat raw vegan, myself included, we're just, oh my God, the tree looks so
yeah,
beautiful. Like we have a totally different perspective on nature as well. And I think it's really, I'm really curious how it will make it happen to live more in nature. So yeah.
yeah. I did a live with Kelly from Kelly Conscious, or Consciousness, I think it's Conscious, and she lived in the Amazon, in some sort of, yeah, in the
And
Amazon rainforest.
yeah,
And she, because she was saying, what was she saying? She was saying, before, this is it, before she moved there, when she was living, I think she was living in Canada, and she was like really like anxious if the food wasn't organic, and she was really like, um, worried about this, worried about that. And she goes, and you know what? Then I got to the Amazon, and I just ate locally. I didn't think about it. But I know that when you're ungrounded and disconnected, you start to internalize thoughts. Whereas when I like to call it coming home, right? When you do wake with the sun, sleep with the moon, you
yeah,
feel like there's a feeling you can't describe, that you can't get from anything else, like the raw food. And then when you're in sync, and when I first got well, because I didn't really have anything and I barely slept, although I laid all the time, I barely slept. I literally, my only friend kind of thing was the sun and the moon, and I have my window open, and I really feel at that time I was in sync. That pulled me through, like it really just guided me.
yeah,
And that's not, I'm still living in a city, but I did get a tiny feeling of it when I was in Bali, because most of the day I'm in a swimming costume, shoes off, in the water, out of the water, eat fruit.
yeah.
But to be like, even take it to another level and have like a hut or something like that would, where you're like really even more connected, would just be, it's probably like, that's got to be probably top of my bucket list, is to get to that synced, right? And I don't think
For
I
me
think
too. Like
Yeah, go.
Yeah, that would be my dream for sure. And also have some fruit trees. And I think it is
Yeah.
possible because I have friends who have it. They live in the countryside and they have like such a chill life. But yeah, it's just all the steps to get there. I'm like, okay. But where there's a dream, there's a way, in a way.
I think we
Yeah.
forget that one, it is possible to live a life where all you're doing is looking after yourself, as in, like, you grow your own food, you make it. That's all you kind of need to do. You could sell some of your foods at the markets to make enough for electricity, but if you had the home, right, you could just sustain that life, to the point that I think we've forgotten that at some stage we were free in nature. Everything was
Yeah,
free. There was no, like, maybe we stayed in caves and things, when it got cold, but there was no, our mind didn't have to do what it does now. Like, and I know we think we're moving forward, but I still have to say, when it came to like my healing, and like close to $1 million would have been spent on saving my life, and it just made me sicker. Yet I'm down and out, and it's
yeah,
literally just raw foods which saved my life. It changes your perspective on, are we moving forward? And should we be moving forward the
exactly.
way we are, right? I'm sure that there's, from what I understand, and there's like, you think of like Egyptian and Mayan cultures, where there would have been a different, cleaner, more connected way of evolution, I believe, that would have taken us a lot further. I feel like we're really in like a heavy, dense, you know, um, evolution of technology is
Yeah,
what I feel is happening. And I feel like we could have grown with some sort of cleaner technology,
yeah,
which is like the crystals, ley lines, and that's what our history kind of shows happened at one stage, right? And we lost that, and now we're in a real dense, like everything is real heavy. There's no like natural light energy that, or electromagnetic fields, which is sustaining our evolution of technology. And can you imagine what that was like? Incredible. But imagine
exactly. Yeah,
Atlantis.
yeah, no, for sure. I feel also like, as you said, we have progress, and in some ways it's positive, but in other ways it's just we're super disconnected from nature. Like, I mean, especially here in the city, you notice it's just super disconnected, and especially in Germany, we have such a workaholic culture, which I get because you have to prepare from the winter and everything is super hard, but still, it's like you you work to die basically, or you live to
Yeah.
work in a way. And it's just like the system, and you don't have time to eat healthy, at least in Germany, because it's like everyone is working so hard and is super materialistic as well, our society in Germany at least. So it's just you don't have you're always on stress, you don't have time to eat healthy, or you think you don't have time to eat healthy, and it's just, yeah, you just gamble with your health so easily.
Mm.
And it's just this whole system. And I think that's also why I have this dream of maybe living more in nature and have
Yeah.
at least my own safe space. Because I feel like the system that we have now is, there are so many flaws in it. And it so many people, they become unhappy because of the system, because they're overworked, overstressed. And I feel like there has to be an easier way that is less
The,
suffering. So
the
yeah.
the premise, or the underlying fundamentals which build the structure of society, are on stress. Like, so just say you're studying at
Yeah.
university and you're stressed. You're studying to take an exam to become a psychologist to treat people who are stressed. Or just say you decide you're going to be a fireman. You work really hard, you put stress through your body, late nights, all to work for another problem. Like, it's all problem based, right? Or just say, people are like, oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor. That's great, but all you're doing is band-aiding problems, like, because they're stressful jobs, right? But all you're doing is learning a skill which fixes stress. It's like this self-sustaining, like, toxic cycle. Whereas when you awaken to that, right, is your dream is literally to be, how can I get connected enough um,
Yeah.
to feel life? Like, there's no greater high once I ate the raw foods than being in nature. Like, I don't think nothing could prepare me for what I experienced in that moment. Like, that's the greatest gift, is no
Yeah.
matter where I was, well, there's always nature, right?
Yeah, I agree. So for everyone who's watching and is not raw vegan yet or has never tried to diet, I can highly recommend it because, as you said, it's such a huge, amazing experience to eat mostly raw vegan or raw vegan and then go into nature. Like, you just have a completely different access to nature, I feel like. So if you're in the sea and you're swimming, it's just you're
It's
just so much
different.
more open to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I noticed that as well. Yeah.
It's the greatest gift. And if you're watching, so what a raw vegan is somebody who eats food that's not cooked in some form. And of course, it's vegan food as well. So it's usually like plant seeds, nuts, herbs, vegetables, fermented foods, spices. And what I worked out when I first went raw was all of the foods and the combinations of foods you can kind of recreate. Like I didn't feel a lack at all when I started. I was like, I like the sweet, the savory, the crunchy, the this, the that. And also because I went on Instagram and had a look what other people were doing, I knew that there was eventually I could do breads once. Like at the start it was just a chopping board and a knife. But I was so satisfied. Like the flavors are so loud. Like it was like what I was always missing. I think we don't realize, but cooked food is dulled down and then lifted with like oils and salts and like
Exactly.
processed spices to stimulate the brain and the tongue when you can actually have just the next level incredible food, right?
Exactly. I agree so much. And if I would have to compare now, like the experience of eating with the different flavors, I would always like prefer figs than, for example, pasta. Because as you said, in the end, cooked food, it's cooked. So a lot of the vitamins and the nutrients are already outside of the food, and a lot of the flavors as well. So it's not as crunchy anymore. And if you like, because your ebook, for example, that is part of the vegan bundle, it is amazing. I'm so excited to be making a lot more recipes from it. Like the past week I was a little bit stressed, but I'm super excited to make more recipes from it because it's so full of flavors. It looks so vibrant. If you compare raw food to cooked food is kind of, I mean, depends, but often it looks also brown, so already a little bit dead. But raw food, it looks super vibrant, it's full of colors,
Yeah.
and you feel so good after eating it. So, yeah, for those of you who don't know, Sky's ebook is amazing. It's part of the vegan bundle. If you have not
Oh,
already, check it out because it's so cool. And it's your second book, right? Because I already know from the past bundle, I have your other ebook, and both of them are
oh,
so good.
oh. Thank you so much. So
Yeah.
the one in this bundle was actually my first ebook, and the one
Ah,
before was my second ebook. It's just that I never really promoted the first one, or it hasn't been in any bundles. So I was like, it's a really good opportunity to share it with people because they're really simple. Like even my celery, my simple pizza is literally just celery poured out and created into a pizza base, and that
yeah.
saltiness of the pizza base once you top it with like a sweet and spicy sauce and maybe and some leeks you get crunchy and then avocados, it's a real flavor kick. Like it's I think it's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I love, like, I will try out so many recipes. One recipe that I think is so cool is to blend, that you have is like blending banana and dates and then dehydrating it. And
Yes, I've
like,
got
that
some
is
on
such a
now.
cool idea. I never tried it, but I
Yeah.
definitely want to.
Oh,
So that's so cool.
it's just simple, and you have them on hand, and they're just like you keep them in the fridge. They don't last long because I always eat them, but they're just like chewy little banana breads, and they're simple as well. Like it's there's I think a lot of it is textures, right? Is you can go really far with the raw foods. You can do like a lot of spices and a lot of sprouted things and all of that, and that's all fine too. But a lot of the time, you just want something on hand for after you've had your dinner, and you want something extra, and that doesn't
Yeah,
have any fat in it either for those who want to keep fats low or you just have them on hand
yeah.
and yeah, it's something easy to do. I just find it all has so much flavors. I remember when I first started trying nice cream and I was like I couldn't believe because I think the shock is when you finish a raw meal is you get so much satisfaction from it but afterwards you don't feel sick. Like we almost as a society just take for granted that we're going to be like, oh, I'm going to have a rest now. Like that type of thing after going out for dinner or after having some takeaway, or like that we just will it's like a self-sacrifice thing, right? Is we are happy to take the stimulation of the Thai dish or whatever, with the fact that afterwards we'll be feeling bloated and full and uncomfortable. We just condition to that, right? And then all of a sudden I'm eating these big, like ice cream. You go out for ice cream. My whole life I would have felt sick after ice cream, but just never knew. I was happy to take the hit of the sugar and the fats and everything. And then you have an ice cream and it feels so good to eat it. And then afterwards you feel amazing as well, right? And that was a huge shock for me, is that you can eat food and and you can actually feel it like contributing to your health. Like you actually enjoyed a meal and now you feel good.
Exactly. Yeah, I love it so much. Also, my relationship to food and with food improved so much because I grew up, which probably a lot of young people do, with a certain type of perspective about eating. Like you should not eat too much because you will get too fat and all of that. So
Yeah.
a lot of restriction in your mind and a lot of that. And once I started eating raw food and a lot of like obviously vegan food, it completely changed because now I
Yeah.
love eating. I love to eat. I feel good afterwards. Like the food that I eat, it nourishes me. So it's something super positive, something super amazing. And I feel that is such a huge different perspective than what I had before. Because before I started raw food and going vegetarian, going vegan, I was like, I don't want to eat too much and I cannot eat too much. So it was super restricted. And now it's just you can eat as much as you want basically because you feel satisfied and
True.
it's a different perspective, and I like it so much more to be just free from all of those restrictions. Like,
Mm.
oh, I cannot eat after that certain amount of time. I cannot eat more calories. And with raw food, you just eat when you're hungry. You don't eat when you're not hungry. So it's liberating, and I really enjoy that.
I think what I worked out with most food that I had in my life is that it just, there was always something that it was making me, like you would go to eat, just say you're going to eat a steak or something. In your mind, you don't feel good afterwards, but you don't realize that. You really just think that this is how you're supposed to feel, right? But then you're also like, I'll have some, but I won't eat till I'm full because it'll make me fat. But I don't think it's always, it's just the type of food. Like I could eat even more calories than that now, and afterwards I feel uplifted and light as if my body's working. And that's how you get into that mind struggle, right? And also a lot of the foods just made a lot of my symptoms worse. So you're in a
Yeah.
constant battle. You're hungry, so your body's telling you something like, I need calories, fuel, nutrition, and then you eat the thing you've been trained to eat, and afterwards there's just so many things that are wrong. So then your brain goes, well, what will I have tomorrow? And then it's like that constant cycle of like not knowing what to do when you feel like every food reacts. And a lot of people also don't realize that things like the processed foods that have a lot of sodium in it, is you're probably carrying around you are carrying around quite a bulk of just fluid retention. Like once you go on that, you just, because we take that for granted. We look in the mirror most of our life and we think we look a certain way, but it's not just weight. It's a whole lot of like swelling and buffering in the body, and excess fluid from all of these things that are
Yeah.
in foods. And you have no idea until you're free from that, right? Is you um that you can feel sorry, you can feel so incredible. It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
like, maybe it feels even more special when you come from feeling that way as well, right? If we were born this way and we only ate this way, we'd be feeling amazing all the time. But for me, there's even like a certain extra bit of gratitude for knowing what, sadly, most
Yeah.
people still eat today, um,
Yeah. Yeah. I
which is,
agree.
yeah, you just wish people could know that there's so much more, and you can feel so incredible. And I think the other thing is, for me it just seems normal now, but there's a whole range of different symptoms out there, and different problems in the world, and raw foods doesn't select. So it's not going in there like foot surgery, where you come out and you're hoping your foot will, that's why that operation's going on. When you eat it, and even if you want to help heal your foot, you'll start to notice your hair was growing stronger, your nails, the
Yeah.
skin problem you've had for years, the eczema, it goes, everything in your body just starts to settle. As much as it possibly can with through using foods. And I think that's really special because I think we live in a world where everyone's brain is trained to, I need to heal my bloating or my IBS or my,
Yeah.
my or and they think it's something different than the eczema, or they think it's something different than the chronic candida, but it's not. It's all the same, and it's about coming back to being connected and realizing that you are just a totality of what you put inside yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that so much. I feel also in the society that we live in right now, we always treat the symptoms and then we don't really treat them, we just cover them up. So, for example, oh, you have high blood pressure, take high blood pressure pills. But what is the real reason? The real reason is usually if you have a super high amount of stress that can cause high blood pressure, or also if you have an inadequate, like a wrong diet. So if you eat a lot of saturated fat, that also causes a lot of blood pressure. So the root of the problem is an unhealthy lifestyle, and that is something that you should change instead of just. I mean, of course, if you take certain drugs like high blood pressure pills in certain situations, they make sense, but in the long run, it's just so much better to actually work at the root of the problem. So that is so much better. Or to say, okay, I have acne. Why do I have acne? Should I just cover it up with makeup, or should I just cover it up with a certain cream? Or should I actually understand my body is talking with me? My body's telling me, hey, something is not going,
Mm.
or like just it's just not working correctly. What should we change? What is the foundation that we have to change? And I think that's just a whole different conversation and super interesting. And right now, because I started with raw food, but now I'm just a lot also interested with like therapy and healing trauma and all of like that's what I'm doing right now. And I think it's the same. Like some people, they say, oh, you have depression, just take medication for it. Or, oh, you have anxiety, just take medication for it. Instead of actually asking, why do you have depression, or why do you have anxiety? What is going on? What happened in your childhood? To always go to the root of the problem. I think that's just so much better to actually heal when you don't just cover up the symptoms, when you don't just say, oh, just you need to function again, so take medication, but to actually take the time and understand, okay, what is the real root problem here? That's just so much more sustainable.
It
Yeah.
sure is. I started reading a book called Nutrient Brain, and it's a psychiatrist or a neuropsychiatrist who is challenging that, what was stating that very soon in the future, no psychiatric disorder will be treated with the drug. It'll be treated. There's a nutrient deficiency which comes through epigenetics. Every
Yeah.
single diagnosis, whether it's like it's copper, it's B6, it's B6 and zinc, each diagnosis has a nutrient deficiency. And the problem is, if you try and treat that with a multivitamin, is that some of these people have too much copper, and the multivitamin has this copper in it, which then makes more chaos. So it's like being really specific and having it infused as well. I still think Whole Foods treats, I know it treats a lot of that because we're not getting the nutrients we need. But it's good to see when doctors or medical professionals are saying things like this, because in fact there's only a handful of medications which actually cure disease. All of them,
Yeah.
people go to university for like 10 years to give people drugs that only treat a symptom, and they're getting more
Yeah.
specified at symptoms. And it even kind of makes me mad when there's all these fundraisers and stuff that I see of people trying to treat diseases when there's no cure for any of them. Like, not yet. We're still giving millions to all these research foundations, but
Yeah.
there's nothing coming out because there is no cures for any of these things. It's all underlying the same epigenetics, and you're going to keep switching it on. It's just the symptoms. But this does not take away from the fact that if somebody is critical, that stuff is there, right? That's how I see it.
Yeah.
But once you're
Yeah.
safe zone, is you really want to know what's causing it, right? Is like once your blood pressure
Exactly.
is low, your diabetes is under control, whatever, your psychiatric problems under control, is you want to know why. And doctors don't go into that. They really don't. They think they've
Yeah.
in if they can, give you some, I don't know, extra strength Tylenol and get rid of your migraine. Well, your body's not deficient in Tylenol, right? That's not
I
happening. Like,
agree.
don't question it. They're like, oh, right, thank you. Because we get relief, right? And that's all people want so they can go on with their life,
Yeah, I agree.
with food and get back to work. And then they just don't think about it again until it pops up and next minute it's a massive clot or something horrible.
Yeah, I love that. I think also that the body's usually telling you. So it starts with something small, like for example, you have headache, and if you always suppress the symptoms, usually the body then goes quiet again. But then the next time it's even louder because the body it wants you to actually take a break and to actually okay, what is the root of the problem? The same with, for example, you have um certain high blood pressure,
Yeah.
then you take medication. And of course, in some situations, it's super, super necessary to take medication, such as diabetes type 1, you need medication. But still, you always have to also look at the lifestyle, as you said. And if not, it's a spiral. If you always just cover up the symptoms, the body is okay, she doesn't listen to me. Then next time I have to be even more loud so that she actually listens to me and takes a break or eats healthier.
Yeah, and you just think of a pipe, right? Like a pipe in the city, like a fire hydrant. If it bursts and you push it down, right, but the water is still got that high pressure, it's just going to blow out somewhere else, right?
Yeah,
And then you might push that, and then it's just going to build more and blow until, and that's the catastrophe, right? And that's why people have got so many symptoms because not just medicines suppress them, is we suppress them in life, right? As we find ways to cope, and it'll just
yeah.
keep popping out. And that was when I healed. What was so brilliant, but hard is I was so disconnected that the only voice I had going on was my own. Like I wasn't talking to anybody, maybe a couple of people online, that's it. And I wasn't talking to family. It was just me all day. And then I'd look at the sun and the moon and stuff. And I realized that this whole time we're taught from a young age to run to a doctor or run to our mum or dad when we're sick. But truly, the greatest, way to learn what you need. And they were all very simple remedies too, like, the raw food, and then things like peppermint oil really helped me. Just really simple things that, were always there. And you always know when it's right because this is how I always knew is it felt good using it. Like if it was peppermint oil, put a little bit on it, felt good using it, felt good while I had it on. And then once it had gone, it felt good too. And that's the same as raw food is I felt good
Yeah.
picking it, making it, eating it, and afterwards. So if you keep your life going like that, you literally rewrite your mind to not think of bad things. Like I remember because I've been so isolated is when I went out, I used to get triggered even if I saw a gun on television. I hadn't really watched television in years. And you can really get to a point where anything with negative connotation is so foreign to you. Like you once you get really busy in life, it's more common. People, talk about things, ads come up. But you can, if you want to disconnect to heal, you can really come into yourself. Like,
Yeah.
go to the Canary Islands and eat fruit on a beach and yeah, you can really learn a lot about, about yourself. I think it's something you're
Yeah,
worth,
it's so true.
people are so worth spending time and energy on themselves.
Yeah, I think that that's super important to actually say, okay, I'm worthy and I'm worth to invest time in myself and to invest time in eating healthy. Because I think many people, myself probably included in the past, because of our upbringing, we were thinking, I'm not worth investing time in myself, but like you're the most important person in your life. So you have to actually yeah, like you deserve to spend time on yourself to actually figure out, okay, how can I eat healthy and all of that. So I agree for sure. And I think that that point that you said that people they give up or they want to give up responsibility and they just want to be assured, for example, with doctors, because
Yeah.
for example, there's some doctors who recommend you have to eat meat for protein,
Mm.
which obviously it's not true. It's just like many doctors, especially in the past, maybe now it's changing, but in the past, they never had courses on nutrition. So, but people, they probably because life is in many ways super complex and people want to feel safe, they go to a doctor and the doctor who has a white coat, they just, and the doctor says something, they just, okay, relief. So I know what to do. But in reality, I think it's super, super important to always take also responsibility for our own health and our own life and to do our own research. Yeah, because it's so sad because I have now I live with a roommate. She's already much older, but she was vegetarian for a couple of years, and then she went to a doctor, and the doctor said you have to eat meat, and now she's eating meat again, and I'm like, no.
That's what it's like, though, right? Is so many of our decisions are not our decisions, right? So the
Yeah,
body and the voice inside of us is talking for a reason, and we just
yeah,
don't hear it anymore. We literally hear the television, or we hear somebody else, we hear a doctor, and we categorize.
parents.
Right? So
Yeah,
we give the power to the doctor. We've actually in our minds built this structure that they know more than our own body. What do they know? They haven't been through what I've been through, and I never thought of that. And on the protein topic is literally forcing me these protein puddings and drinks 3 times a day with meals on top of it. I was so sick from it, but they don't question that that's causing the sickness. Once I got off
yeah,
it, and especially my blood sugar was getting the worst blood sugar spikes. Well, think about it, it's fat and sugar. What more problem can you think of? So it's just like, I think that the results of something should just speak. So if you try a lifestyle, and I mean try it, I don't mean like, a few weeks, you've got to really go into it for at least 6 months, right? And
yeah,
see the difference, right? See how you feel and let that speak, because that's what we're supposed to do. That's part of knowing yourself. And it helps you then make other choices. You get really confident. Then you're like, right, I knew this was right. And I was saying the other day how if I get stressed, like just say I'm really busy with work and I need to pull back and cancel on a couple of people, I love that because I'm doing that for me. And I will go to the beach and be in the sun and relax, and that's not a bad thing. That's me loving me enough to not end up so stressed I have health problems and then I can't help anybody. Like it's
yeah,
that
yeah.
balance, right? And
I
then you
agree.
learn and you're like, right, well, I had this many clients, I will make sure I don't do that again. Like you manage it, but it's not that I'm lazy or anything. It's simply that I love myself enough and I want to bring to people I work with as well feeling good. Like if I'm feeling off, I don't want to do that to them.
Yeah,
But yeah, like you
yeah.
really got to honor yourself, right?
I love that. I think too because right now I'm doing actually therapy and we had the topic lately about like overworking, and for me that's what I've done. I didn't listen to my body and I just overworked. And then
Mm,
the therapist was like, no, actually it's really helpful to listen to your own body. And our society, at least in Germany, we have this workaholic society which
mm,
praises people going over their limits and just working nonstop. That is what is in Germany at
yeah.
least praised in our society. But in reality, there's so much virtue or so much goodness and actually listening to your body and saying, okay, this is too much. Like I have to set certain boundaries and also work with my body because like life is not a sprint, is a marathon.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
that's what I'm
massive problem.
learning recently.
The reason we do what we do is because we've been trained. So from a young age, you get up, you're rushed off to school. After school, you're going
Yeah,
to do a sport. You've got to do your homework. And then when you finish that, you still haven't finished everything. So there's a sense of you have to always be stressed to be doing
yeah,
something in life. That's 12 years of when your brain is at its most susceptible, right? So then when you
yeah,
go life, that pattern's recreated. Like you don't know, it's your subconscious, but you don't feel like you're achieving unless you're so stressed. You're
yeah,
like, okay, I'm achieving. I haven't finished everything now. That's how you achieve, right? But then you've got to go.
yeah.
It's really hard to go, right, today I'm taking it a bit slower. I'm going to go to the beach and look after me, and then I'll come back to what I was doing. And it changes your whole mindset. Like I will, when I'm really stressed, I will think I've got a million things to do. Once I calm the mind, I'll just be like, everything floats away and it comes in
Yeah,
its own
I
time,
agree.
right?
I agree. Just spending some time in nature and it's already half the problem is
Yeah,
solved in a way.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Oh,
Mm,
it's been
what
so
you
nice
say.
talking to you. I love connecting with you.
Same, same. I love it. You look so vibrant and you're so smart, so it's really, really cool to talk with you.
Oh,
So thank you so much.
oh, that's such kind words. I love your vibrancy and I love your youth with it as well. It's just, I think it's really incredible. And guys, make sure you check out the links in our bio to the Vegan Health Bundle. There is over $8,000 worth of courses, there's recipes, there's guides, there's massive resource. It's only $49. It's only for a few more days. It'll end on the 10th of March. So go check that out. It can really support you on your journey. And I will see everybody later. Thanks, Eva.
See you. Thank you so much for having me. See you.
Bye.